What do you get when you combine meat with wine and vegetables and put everything in one pot? It's a mouth-watering stew. Today I'm sharing my favorite one-pot meals, beginning with a hearty beef stew, followed with a rustic French classic, coq au vin. Finally, the technique for creating a delectable veal stew, bursting with spring vegetables. A stew is prepared generally with an inexpensive, tougher cut of meat like beef chuck, chicken legs, and veal shoulder. So what you need to make a really good stew is a heavy-duty pot with a tight-fitting lid. Today we're going to begin with beef stew using chuck. We're also going to be doing a coq au vin, which uses the dark meat of the chicken legs and thighs, and veal. So let's proceed. We're going to do the beef stew first. So a stew is generally prepared with small cuts of meat, small cubes, with the addition of vegetables that are cooked in enough liquid to generously cover the entire thing. Now, this is slab bacon, and this is what we are going to render to start browning the beautiful piece of chuck I have in front of me. Cut the bacon into half-inch cubes, and this goes right into your pan and start rendering the fat. This is a fatty slab bacon. So there we have our bacon rendering. Now this beautiful piece of chuck, cut this into nice squares. So while the bacon is melting, season with salt and pepper. Use kosher salt for this. You want to season generously. A little bit of pepper. So we'll save the lardons. These will be added back into your stew. And now just put your salted, peppered meat in the fat. You do not want to crowd the pan. And don't try to move them for a minute or two. As it's browning, you can be cutting up your wonderful mushrooms. You can use white button mushrooms. You could use shiitakes, but very nice bunch of mushrooms, 2 ounces of mushrooms, and some yellow onions cut up. 1 medium large onion peeled and cut into squares, and 4 cloves of peeled, finely minced garlic. Now adjust your heat while you're browning the meat. Just take a look. See that wonderful caramelized color it gets? So you want to do each side, 6 sides to a cube. Now, meats won't brown at a low temperature, which is why it's very important to sear the meat on the stovetop first. If you don't do this, you will not have that nice, dark, rich stew that we are looking for. The meat looks very good. I will put the meat in the bowl with the rest of it. See how nicely colored this meat is. That is exactly the color you want. There's a little excess fat, and I'm going to pour it right into a reserve bowl. And now all those nice brown bits that are on the bottom of the pan, add some beef stock, 1 cup, preferably homemade if you have it. And this is a great wooden spoon. Has a flat bottom. In just a few strokes, releases all that stuff from the bottom of the pan. Try to find one of these if you can. Very good spoon to have. Okay, so now this liquid goes right over the meat. And look at the pan. Nothing in there. It's almost clean. So to this, on low heat, add a couple tablespoons of olive oil. I like to add the onions first. Cook until translucent. That takes about 3 minutes. Now you can add also 4 cloves of garlic finely minced. If you don't like garlic, you can omit the garlic in this stew. And now you can add your mushrooms, cleaned and cut in half, stems removed. And cook this for, just about 2 minutes, just until they start to soften. So there, the mushrooms are soft, the onions have a nice color, and they are nicely translucent, and it's time to thicken the stew. And we do this by adding 2 tablespoons of flour, all-purpose flour. Sprinkle it over your onions and mushrooms. And stir that around. You must cook that flour to make it palatable. So we're cooking it over low-medium heat. And for added flavor, a tablespoon of Dijon mustard. This adds just a little bit more flavor. And it smells very good. And now you see that the bottom of the pan has, again, accumulated some brown bits. The flour has made everything a little bit sticky. We're going to add 2 cups of beef stock and stir this around. Now, here goes the meat. Boy, does that look good. And now, red wine, 2 cups. And now add a few sprigs of thyme and 2 bay leaves. Submerge them in the liquid. Now bring that to a boil, reduce to a simmer, cover, and you will cook it for approximately 1.5 hours. Skimming every now and then, just taking off any excess fat. So, oh yes. Now look how much reduction has taken place. And the beef is beautiful, the mushrooms are tender. Now is time to add 1 pound of fingerling potatoes or Yukon Gold cut in half. These have to cook for another 25 minutes, so this is at the end of 1.5 hours where the meat is very tender. You're adding the potatoes. Now make sure we submerge those in the gravy. Really beautiful. And about 12 ounces or so of cipollini onions. These have been blanched and peeled. You can also use pearl onions, red or white. Cover again, and in approximately 25 minutes, the potatoes will be done. Check after about 20, just to make sure. Well, here's the stew. It looks good. And it is ready to serve. Look at the color. The meat is not falling apart, and yet it is totally fork tender. So beautiful. I think it's very nice. Oh, stir in the lardon. So now I like serving it in a heated bowl like this with some noodles. This small bowl will be welcomed by anyone you bring to your home. Look how pretty, a little bit of carrot, a little bit of vinegary, finely grated horseradish, and a little bit of chopped dill. Now that is beef stew at its best. Coq au vin is a classic French dish, which simply means to cook chicken in wine. Coq is a chicken, an old tough rooster, and au vin means in the wine. But today I'm using organic chicken legs and thighs. First thing that you have to do if you're going to make a good coq au vin is to marinate the chicken in red wine, 2 cups of red wine, which is approximately half a bottle, overnight in the refrigerator. And cover with plastic wrap, refrigerate 12 hours or even a little bit longer. And then you're ready to start your coq au vin. I'm rendering the fat from 8 ounces of slab bacon, which we've cut into small cubes. And it's rendering very nicely. And we're using acid. The red wine is an acid. And it is also, because it's an acid, it's a tenderizer. So the chicken I've started to drain This is what it looks like after 12 hours in red wine. It has turned a deep kind of purpley color. No surprise, having been submerged in red wine. Save the wine that's going to be added to the stew. And the drier your chicken is before browning, the browner your chicken's going to get. Now, we need a lot of garlic, 8 cloves of garlic, and I thought I'd show you just a cute trick for peeling an entire head of garlic. Just put the whole head of garlic in a bowl. You have to have 2 of the same size bowl for this. Put the other bowl right on the top like this and shake. Something good is happening. I smell a lot of garlic. Ah, and look what's in the bowl. 1 perfectly peeled clove, 2, 3, 4. This is the fastest, most efficient way of peeling garlic I have ever found. So here we have all our garlic nicely peeled. Fun, right? Try it. Give it to your kids to do. They will love this method. Okay, I'm going to remove the lardon. Just put on a piece of paper toweling to drain. These will be reincorporated into the stew, into the coq au vin at the end. Season as you did the beef with salt and pepper. Very nice. I'll do all the drumsticks first, and then we have the thighs next. Let it cook a little bit before you try to turn it. Just like pan searing, you want to get the brownness happening before you try to turn it and tear the skin or tear the meat. Always start with the skin side down. And if you find that it is splattering, just use your spatter guard. And so here we have gorgeously browned chicken. And now right into the hot pan, start sauteing 1 medium onion, chopped. And this will be the sauce for your beautiful coq au vin. And as soon as this starts cooking, you'll add your 8 cloves of garlic that have been finely sliced. Now, as the onions and garlic cook, I'm releasing from the bottom all that brown stuff. That's called the fond, F-O-N-D in French. And speaking French, the other thing that's very French here is my mise en place. Put in place all the things that I need for the stew. So now the onions have turned translucent, the garlic is cooking. Add 10 white pearl onions, blanched and peeled. They go right in. And then a half a pound of cremini mushrooms or white mushrooms, button mushrooms, the stem trimmed but still intact. And so now add your mushrooms. And so now we're going to add tomato paste, just 1 tablespoon of tomato paste. This adds a little subtle flavor, but also a little bit of color to our coq au vin. And some flour, 3 tablespoons of flour. This is our thickening agent. It will make sure that the sauce is not too runny. Cook this for 2 minutes just to cook the starch in the flour. And now, 2 tablespoons of the very best cognac. We're making a French dish. We might as well add French ingredients. This will help deglaze the fond in the bottom of the pan and add again yet another beautiful subtle flavor. So nice. Okay, and now return to the pot, all of this rendered bacon and the lovely chicken pieces. All of this fits very nicely in this beautiful enameled cast iron pot. And I'm putting the chicken all in 1 layer on top of the vegetables. Add a couple sprigs of thyme and some bay leaves And now your red wine. And it's a good idea, if this is the marinating red wine, to strain this over the mix. There might be a little bit of chicken fat or something in there from the chicken. And if you want a really earthy taste, you can add, at this point, the chicken liver, an ounce or two of chicken liver. This will disappear into the sauce. Bring this to a simmer, which it is doing right now. Cover and transfer to a 325-degree preheated oven and cook until the chicken is cooked through and the vegetables are tender, 45 minutes to an hour. Very easy. Looks absolutely beautiful. Now, I think there's a little bit of fat on the top, which can be skimmed off by just sliding a spoon along the surface. And it's not so much from the chicken as it is from the lardon. And if you chill this, all the fat will come to the surface and you can just scrape it off and then reheat. That's enough. And now we have some mashed potato. You can make a nice mound of mashed potato on a plate. And give everyone one thigh and one drumstick. The color is superb. Of course, we want some of this beautiful gravy and some of the mushrooms and pearl onions. Sprinkle with some parsley. Hearty, delicious. This is called a white stew because the meat is never browned. The stock is thickened first by a roux and then by a second thickener called a liaison, which in this case is eggs and cream. And the eggs and the cream make the sauce exceptionally rich and delicious. So the first thing to do is to have your meat, 2 pounds of boneless veal shoulder cut into 1.5-inch squares. We're going to make a bouquet garni in a cheesecloth. So 1 carrot, 1 small onion, and you can just roughly slice this onion. This too is going into our bouquet garni. This is going to cook right in with the veal and the other aromatics to make a flavorful veal stew. Here's our parsley, like 4 or 5 sprigs of parsley, some thyme, 1 clove of garlic smashed, and 2 bay leaves. And you can break the bay leaves if you like. And then just make a little pouch. You can tie this without string, and you can just do this in a knot, and make sure you use cotton cheesecloth. So here's your little pouch, ready to go. And bring 1/4 cup of white wine to a boil, and we're going to add the veal straight into the white wine. And this is typically like a Navarrin of lamb. When the veal is young, the vegetables are tender and young. And this is what a spring stew is all about. Stir the meat into the white wine and add 6 cups of water, cold water. And to this, 1 teaspoon of salt. And oh, I forgot to put the peppercorns into the bouquet garni. I'll just throw 1/4 teaspoon in. You can pick those out later. But they are an essential ingredient in the aromatics. So stir the meat a little bit. You're going to bring this to a boil, reduce to a simmer. And once it starts to simmer, add your big bouquet garni and cook for 1 hour, skimming with a spoon like this to take the scum off the surface. Okay, our veal is just coming to a simmer. With a spoon, make room in the center for your bouquet garni, and the aromatics will continue flavoring the meat for the entire hour in which it's going to cook uncovered gently at a simmer. So here is our veal. The liquid has reduced to, oh my gosh, a fraction of what it was. This is after 1 hour. Now add to the pot 3 large artichoke hearts. So cut this into 6 pieces. Depending on the size of your artichoke heart, it's going to take anywhere from, let's say, 20 to 25 minutes to get these tender. It's been cooking for an additional 25 minutes with the artichoke hearts. Now, add your green peas, 1 pound. Doesn't look like a pound, but it is, of fresh green peas. If you can't find fresh, you could use the baby frozen. Okay, so that's 3 minutes. You want to now strain your liquid. Remove the bouquet garni. So gently remove the peas, the meat, the artichoke hearts to a bowl. And you can strain the rest right through a sieve. And we're ready to do our roux. 4 tablespoons of butter, and we're going to add 1/4 cup of flour. And you just have to cook it for about 1 minute. Add your stock, and this is a velouté. Now, as this comes to a simmer, it will thicken a little bit more, and you'll be ready to create the liaison of egg yolk and cream. Oh, so this is smooth, and it is thickening. So turn the heat way down. You can break your egg yolk right into the bowl. Save the white for something else, meringues and other things. And add 1/4 cup of heavy cream. We're going to add a little bit of the velouté now to the egg and cream. Now, this is called tempering. You want to add just a little bit at a time so that you do not curdle the egg yolk. And now you can add this warm mixture to the pot. Stir it in. So we have our meat, our fava beans. Oh, I can put those right here. Those are going to be added. This is 1 pound. And now, just add your veal right back to the pot. At this point, I like to stir everything with a rubber spatula because I don't want to break anything. And one last lovely little addition is the juice of 1 lemon. Spectacular. Well, there you have it, your blanquette de veau, spring veal stew. And I like to serve this in a spectacular bowl like this. Now, you could serve this over a beautiful risotto, or that could be on the side. Some freshly chopped parsley and freshly chopped dill. So I hope you've enjoyed this lesson on stewing, and we'll try making one of these hearty, satisfying meals for dinner tonight or for this weekend for your friends and family. Thanks very much for watching this episode of Martha's Cooking School. I'll see you next lesson.